There was a time when I was required to dress like a chef against my recommendation that I don't even know how to cook at all. In art school, I would have never thought that a guy who could barely make macaroni and cheese would be teaching world-class chefs how to do anything. Hi, I'm Michael Joy. This is Absolute Joy, and I have a long, short story for you with a culinary flair to it. In the day of making molds for the culinary industry, there's a few key people that recognized the potential early on, and they were eager to push forward this innovation in lectures in other universities and events. And at the day, there was a big event. It was the biggest in the nation, World Pastry Team Championships. One year was the national championships, and then the next year it was the international championships. So it was like a qualifier, and then they would have these 13, 16 teams come from all over. In addition to the competition, they had a forum, which was called the Pastry Forum in advance, and it was 5 days of educational classes. And they had big groups of people coming through. So you would have a class in the morning for 3 hours with one chef. You go to lunch, that was some exquisite thematic lunch that the hotel chef prepared. And then after lunch, you go to another demonstration. And then the next day you go see another 2 chefs. So by the end of the week, you saw 10 chefs, and they were typically famous chefs, well known around the world for something or another. I'm talking like the Jean-Marie Alboins, the Jackie Pfeiffers. In pastry, these guys were really well known, and some others from around the world that were equally famous. They were cooking for kings and queens. Substantial champion chef. And I was invited through my association at that time with the French Pastry School, who we worked a lot with, and they had nobody teaching anything about mold making. In advance of that, I had rushed to publish my first book called Confectionary Art Casting. Beatrice and I did that in, I think, 60 days. She single-handedly did all of the layout of the book. I did all the photography and the writing. It was nonstop. And luckily, the cases, the pallets of books showed up at the event almost the same day that the event started. So it was really to the wire. But here's how it unfolded. I show up, and they have chef jackets for me, all printed with like flags and collars and embroidered names, and the environment is full of other chefs. Everybody's wearing white jackets, chef this, chef that. So it was like the coordinators would have the helper people who would move you around, and they'd be like, Chef Michael, your photo shoot is over here. Chef Michael, would you please, there's an interview here. Chef Michael, you have this. I'm like, I'm not a chef. I'm not a, 2 days into it, I'm like, what's that? Chef Michael what? So I realized that I had to live the illusion, even though it was a little embarrassing at times. So my class was, I showed all these mold making demonstrations, and actually at the time, Scott Green was one of my assistants in the class, and John Krause, and these are very accomplished chefs in their own right at this point in time. And I remember being so freaking exhausted that there was one day, I'm pouring the silicone, it's in the afternoon, my brain was gone. I'm talking, I'm like, and then you pour the silicone, and here's how you needle it so it covers this, that, and the other. And in my mind, I'm pouring this, and I knew I had a minute, and I'm going, I don't know what to say next. I can't remember. I was exhausted. I don't know what I'm going to do next. I'm going to have to stop the class. I'm going to have to, I don't know what to do. I finished pouring, and Molly, the other assistant, God bless Molly, she had done this enough times also, and she came right in with the next tray of things, and it reminded me what to do. And I was just like, oh, this is Hollywood, right? But I had never ever been so tired. Talking for 3 hours, demonstrating in a new environment, trying to say chef things to people. Oh my gosh, I was so worried. And after that event, now it was very prestigious to go there, absolutely no doubt. People, pretty much everybody bought the book that attended, because that's what you did at the time. The chefs that came in, they were all promoting a book or something. And I had also made a handful of leaf mold to sell just for cash. And that's when I realized there's nothing on the market. These chefs come from all over the world, and they're going to buy some stuff to take home because they're all there to learn. I had a good class, and I was one of the only instructors that was asked to give an additional class to the instructors who were also teaching, because they couldn't attend the mold making class. And that was at the time where I was put on the cover of Pastry Art and Design. And this was another thing. First, I was the first non-chef to teach at the World Pastry Forum. Then I was the first non-chef to be on the cover of Pastry Art and Design. And I was the first non-chef to be DVC, Distinguished Visiting Chef, at Johnson & Wales Providence and Johnson & Wales, what was the other, Charlotte campus. And those were other very prestigious things. And so it was hot. It was catching. People were really excited about the artistry that could be done. I had the chops to back it up. I didn't know how to present. I mean, I still had like a nervousness that I can feel, and one or two of the presentations that I gave that I go, oh God, I wasn't ready for that. This must be what it's like for an actor to have to watch themselves in a bad movie. To this day, today, I still feel it. I realized I was onto something, that there was a need in the market, and this launched my culinary career. Thank you to Jackie Pfeiffer. Although we had a falling out, not my fault, Jackie, if you time traveled. But at the same time, this guy championed me and really elevated me, gave me great opportunities and things like that. So it's not a rage point. It's a, come on, brother, what happened? I love that guy. He was classy and funny. Out of everything, I missed the friendship in that. And what's interesting is these like business breakups at high level, you never get to hear the real story. Even Scott didn't tell the real stories because people are protective of the other people. And they're like, you know what? It wasn't classy, but this is how it is. Thank you to all the people who in the culinary industry who welcomed me at such a young age and such an unknown into their environment. But boy, those were some sleepless freaking days. That class changed the way the teams interacted, because after those classes and during those lunches, I had other international teams saying, we're competing next year. Can you do a mold for us here? And can you do it for this? That's when I learned how critically important confidentiality is, because we were being asked to do molds for a variety of teams in the same competition, and we could not share who else we were doing something with. We got very far in that regard because we never broke. Everybody knew, and they would come to me and say, look, I know you're not a talker. I know you'll not say anything about this. They had a lot on the line because they could be spending $100,000 to prepare for this competition. To have one Yahoo vendor reveal their magic trick, I mean, that's a low blow. So we never did that. And it was fun after the competition to say, oh yeah, we did that, you know. And it's not that we did that, because we participated in that. And it was great to see the silicone went out and the magazine covers came back. That was a thrill. The business stories is sometimes, if you're fortunate enough to be in an industry that is welcoming something new, this is me trying to give advice. Do not look at it as a business venture only. Take it for the opportunity that it is and worry about the profit later. That's my moral of the story. In art school, I would have never thought that a guy who could barely make macaroni and cheese would be teaching world-class chefs how to do anything. And yet that's what happened. So chefs, thank you for tolerating me, but I hope you got some good tricks out of it. And by the way, I have conquered macaroni and cheese.